Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between a favorite Zerg player here, Argos Zenex, spawning as the red Zerg on the north side of the map against Sulli Zenith, spawning as the blue Terran. So this is going to be Terran versus Zerg. Obviously this was taken from the Korean servers. I do not know how to read Korean, so for those of you guys who can, you guys can try to translate what's happening for me, and I will read it in the comments. Now, a couple people were wondering, why would anyone say that I produce too many videos? And that was actually in response to people saying that they no longer watch my videos because there's too many to watch. And I just felt like I had to get my opinion out there and just say, you know what, you don't have to watch all of my videos. Thank you if you do. I wish I had 50,000 other subscribers just like you. But you don't have to watch all of my videos. I just want to make sure that you guys, if you do look for some decent StarCraft 2 games, you would never be disappointed when visiting my channel. You now see Argos Zenith, or Argos, I'm just going to try to call him Argos throughout the rest of the game, now scouting out with this one drone, currently training up 3 drones at a time as well. I believe he opened up with a standard 9 Overlord instead of the Korean 10 Overlord that I have seen, but the 10 Overlord is more common in a Zerg versus Zerg mirror match. Sully now setting up a barracks over here on his front door, will be able to train up a Marine, but the drone should be able to harass in this location pretty easily. What I like about the positioning on this one barracks over here is that the SCV will be just wandering around here and now going for a double racks build. So Sulli Zenith not going for gas, going for double racks. And how will Argos respond? Argos already has his hatchery up, so it means that he needs to get a lot of spine crawlers perhaps into this location here and even here in order to try to fend off what will most likely be a mass Marine rush. I believe Argos needs to get a couple banelings as well, but it is going to be very difficult for him as he needs to balance perfectly between minerals and gas in order to make sure he doesn't fall behind economically, doesn't lose this hatchery, and is also able to defend against what I believe to be an SCV and Marine push. You can see one barracks is already being trained, or training up a Marine, a second barracks nearing completion, and now this SCV moving its way over and most likely going to place down a bunker. So it is going to be a very, very early bunker coming in from Sulli. The Overlord is in position, so he will be able to see that the SCV is there, perhaps try to set up a bunker. Where is that bunker gonna go? There it is, bunker already being placed down. A drone now trying to make its way over. There are 2 SCVs and now 3 SCVs coming over as well, so those 3 SCVs are going to be able to harass this one bunker without any serious issue. But now in comes some drones as well, so 7 drones against 3 SCVs. Those SCVs are going to be forced to pull away, cancel that bunker, and now this hatchery is up. The drone is trying to get in front of those SCVs and now battling it out, but Marines now coming in as well. So the Marines now trying to run away from that one drone. The drone getting some damage and now passing through those units there. We can see a queen now trying to be trained, and now a bunker is being placed down. We need to see some spine crawlers now, and there are some decent number of Zerglings as well. The Marines now trying to shoot down this Overlord. The Overlord does get shot down, so we now see what Zenex is upside down in terms of food count, and now those drones are trying to make their way over. Zerglings now trying to catch up in front of those Marines there, going after straight onto those Marines. Marines are now taken down. Drones now battling it out. A lot of Zerglings as well, as this one bunker most likely will just be forced to be salvaged, and now it will be salvaged, but the bunker, sorry, the SCV was taken down, but the bunker was salvaged as more Zerglings are just able to swarm out against those Marines. Wow, Zenith, or Sulli Zenith, opting to go for a very, very heavy Marine push. And I believe he did it just a little bit too early. By going that early into this game, he was not going to be able to get a large enough number of Marines to try to handle the swarm of drones that were trained. And now Argos Zenex definitely has a lead right now. He has an even drone count, but he will have the ability to spawn additional drones off of this hatchery over here, perhaps power drone, and get a very, very strong economy going. You can now see Zerglings trying to walk up that front door. That front door is very, very well sealed with 3 barracks in position. 3 barracks each with 1,000 hit points and a natural 1 base armor, and now a couple Marines on the other side. 5 of them able to shoot down and pick off many of those Zerglings. I don't see a baneling nest coming in anytime soon. More drones are now being trained. Spawn larva, we can see that Argos Zenex trying to make sure that he does not fall behind in his production, and now just macroing up very, very well. We can also see an evolution chamber being placed down, which is a very, very nice tech choice at this time. just in case his opponent goes for Banshees. Mass Marines into Banshees is fairly common. The Zergians once again going to try to test the front door, will not be able to, as there are an even larger and larger number of Marines now. One SCV, going to get caught out of position there. That SCV most likely going to get taken down, surrounded, and down it goes. But now in come a swarm of Marines. Marines are going to be able to get some damage, and now Sulli Zenith opting to use these barracks as a front door, making a very narrow choke point here and here. But the Zergians perhaps going to try to walk in. No, not going to get underneath those buildings. And now we see an orbital command will be set up over here, and now factories being built down. Wow, so Sulli Zenith really using those, really using these buildings, and now I expect to see roaches coming in from Argos. Argos using roaches. The roaches do have a range of 4, so Marauders cannot shoot at roaches, as I believe the barracks have a radius or a length of 3, so roaches can actually fire at a factory and without a marauder being able to fire back. We can now see overlords in position, very, very nicely positioned by Argos Zenex. He will be able to do a perfect scouting and making sure that if there are any banshees, he will have enough time to try to get one or two spore crawlers up as detectors. We can see a hatchery now being placed down here, destructible rocks, and being joined in by that spine crawler as well. That spine crawler using that impaler tentacle, getting a lot of damage in here. But this front door seal is pretty effective. I am very, very impressed by Sulli using mass production buildings. And now 4 barracks with 2 factories. I don't see a starport though, but we now also have an armory in place. So we are going to see some Thors most likely coming online in just a second. Not quite sure why he isn't researching the blue flame research yet. And now Sulli is currently behind, gonna be supply locked once again, has tons of production buildings, and isn't able to really queue that many units up. Also, I like this positioning on this engineering bay, blocking the back door, especially with 1 Marine sitting there, being able to intercept any Zergans that try to pick off at that 1 engineering bay. We can see the hatchery has been completed here, and now some drones should be transferred. 6 drones in production. Once again, 50 drones now for Argos Zenex. So Zenex Argos just doing a great job macroing up like a madman. Very, very small army though, only a couple Zerglings, and that is it. 7 Zerglings and 4 Queens to try to deal with the Hellions that are now testing this front door. The Hellions may get some damage off, but there is 1 spine crawler here. The Hellions perhaps going to try to come back around that far side. There are Zerglings down here and 1 Queen as well. But that Queen does need to get some creep tumors down, otherwise she's going to get caught out of position. Back here, Overlords just being sporadically spaced around the map, and a lot of sight given to Argos. Argos now activating Xel'Naga. Watch out for just a split second, only to see 5 Hellions in position, 6 Hellions in position now. Those Hellions perhaps going to try to come up that ramp and deal some damage. Ignore that phone, as it's most likely a telemarketer. Back here, a hatchery now back and down, and I got some hate mail for saying that there are a lot of people who are telemarketers. It's most likely a mechanical or a recording telemarketer telling me to refinance my loans. Anyways, Hellions now trying to perhaps walk up this ramp over here, will not be able to. 1 Queen. Oh, hold on 1 second. Alright, the one time that it wasn't a telemarketer. Anyways, Zerglings now running back around. There are some Hellions now perhaps going to try to walk into here, get some more drone kills. Blue Flames trying to deal some damage on those spine crawlers. The spine crawlers not going to take any serious damage. The drones, however, need to retreat. I believe the Flames will be able to torch many of those drones, and those drones are now pulling back. Hellions now perhaps going to come across the far side and get a lot of drone kills here, and now a lot of drones are just being toasted very, very easily. Sulli Zenith getting a lot of damage. Zerglings now trying to come in, trying to swarm, but I believe those Banelings may be able to get some damage. Banelings are splashing, able to finish off some of those Hellions, but there are still 2 Hellions over here getting a ton of kills. And wow, what a change in this game now. 54 drones. I believe that Argos at some point had up to 70 drones, but really the economic game has completely changed, especially as Sulli Zenith does have double mules in play, and those 2 mules will be able to mine very, very efficiently. We currently have a 6 Mutalisks in the air, so those Mutalisks may be able to come in and deal some damage in just a moment. 6 Mutalisks now moving around, trying to capture those Hellions. Those Hellions did a lot of damage. 26 damage per attack, but the Mutalisks are now finally coming in to join in on that fight. Hellions now trying to run away, but I believe the Mutalisks should be able to pick them off in just a second. Yes, those Mutalisks are going to be able to pick off many of those Hellions. 1 Hellion perhaps forgetting that he needs road to drive on, was trying to drive straight into this cliff. This is not the Dukes of Hazzard. You cannot go flying across the center of the cliff. Back over here, we now have one Overlord still scouting out 2 mules, and now a Thor coming online. The Thor should be able to easily shoot down this Overlord, but it really needs to perhaps deal with those Mutalisks. The Mutalisks are getting the level 1 weapons upgrade, and we are now going in for Ventral Sacks as well. So this is going to be very interesting. Ventral Sacks obviously allows Zerg players to do drops. I have seen Argos Zenith also use Nidus Worms very, very effectively to try to split an attacking army, and we are also seeing the Infestation Pit coming online. So Infestation Pit tier 3 may be coming in the future. We'll see what happens. Cracklings may be coming in as well, as those Zerglings are upgraded to 0. More Mutalisks being trained. Level 1 Carapace upgrades now being researched, as well as we should be getting into Hive Tech. In comes the Thor. Mutalisk trying to stop on top of that Thor right there, getting a lot of damage onto that Thor. Some of those Marines are getting taken down as well. Down it goes. Medevacs now trying to come in, but those Medevacs are just going to get simply taken down very, very easily. Down goes that Thor there. Bringing over another Thor from Sulli. Sulli does have level 1 weapons upgrade on the Thor, level 2 nearing completion. So 2-0 Thors are able to 2-shot Mutalisks, and that is going to be very important indeed, as those Mutalisks will fall, I believe, 30 or 66% faster. Back over here, Command Center will be able to land here in just a moment. A missile turret now trying to be placed down. Sulli using these barracks very, very effectively in order to create front door seals, and now Mutalisks trying to once again test the waters will not be able to, as that Thor has such a dominant range of 10, able to get 1 round of javelin missiles into the backs of those Mutalisks, and those Mutalisks now backing off. But Argos Zenex not relaxing, now expanding across almost every mineral patch that is truly a neutral mineral patch, taking the 9 o'clock and the 3 o'clock. Also has a Zergling here at the low ground expansion, and will not be able to take this set of expansions over here. So it's going to be Argos Zenex running off of 5 bases in just a moment. Mutalisks, however, trying to chase into that group of Marines. A Baneling in that group as well, but the siege tanks should be able to siege up in just a moment, start blasting away at those Banelings. Banelings are upgraded to 1, so they do deal 43 damage. Very, very impressive amount of damage, especially against stimmed Marines, as those Marines only have 45 hit points after a stim pack, and you all know how much those Marines like to use those stim packs. Now quickly going after that oh, the Baneling doesn't splash, doesn't get the damage, and now pulls away once again, trying to hide onto that creep. The creep is going to be very, very useful in order to increase the movement speed on that Baneling. The Baneling moves at almost what 33% faster. Marines now trying to make their way over, trying to push out, trying to take down multiple creep tumors as well, and deciding to pull back once again. And now army wise, what is happening? 4,100 for the Sulli Zenith with a very, very large army, but production all of a sudden, we also see the Greater Spire coming into play in addition to the Ultralisk Caverns. So Argos Zenex really expanding, getting a lot of units, and this is a real full gambit from coming in from the Zerg player. The Zerg player essentially getting every single unit possible, as those a siege tank was able to get a blast off there. The Baneling unable to get any damage off. I want to see, can a Baneling ever have more than 0 kills? I don't think it's possible. Perhaps if the Zergling gets some kills and then morphs into a Baneling. I want to see that just once. Mutalisks now in the air, still 1-0 upgrades. The Crackling upgrade now coming online. Level 3 weapons attack, and now more and more research coming in. Level 2 Carapace upgrades and Corruptors are being trained up as well. The siege tanks able to blast away at many of those units. Do we have enough starports, as those Mutalisks trying to come in and try to get in a lot of damage onto these SCVs over here? Now pulling back once again. Mutalisks getting a lot of damage, and now gonna come in over here as well, getting a drop instead. Roach is gonna start dropping out, and those Roaches gonna be able to deal a lot of damage. Siege tanks quickly rallied to the wrong location, gonna get picked up. Nicely done. Now going after some of those Marines. A very, very nice Thor ship play, allowing that Thor to not get focused down as those Roaches continue to snipe in and try to get more damage once again. Back over here still has a Thor guarding, and now those Overlords are deciding to go into full retreat. Taking a look at the units lost, Argos Zenex has lost more, but he also has a much smaller army. We can see also 77 drones, so Argos Zenex still macroing up very, very heavily, and now getting into these Broodlords. Broodlords may get a lot of damage in, and now those Marines trying to come in, that's going to be a problem. Those Marines trying to stim in, trying to get some damage. More Marines now coming in as well. Those Infestors may get some fungal growth. There we go, beautifully done. some fungal growth there, stopping those Marines in their tracks, and those Broodlords may continue to be able to spawn more and more Broodlings, and that has to be careful as those Siege Tanks will start accidentally splashing damage onto those Marines. Siege Tanks already out of siege mode. No, once again re-sieging up as those Broodlings are now just being launched straight at that supply depot over here. A lot of damage being dealt, and now in comes another fungal growth. No fungal growth. Very, very nice. Infestors with Broodlords just dealing so much damage, using that range of 9.5 very, very effectively, and now continuing to just get a lot of damage. Are we going to get a fungal growth? No, it does not look like it. And now just continuing to just drop Broodlings instead, and a lot of damage being dealt. Nicely done so far. Those Broodlings, however, just standing around waiting for that timer to get killed. And now I believe as the production continues, Ultralisk now being trained. So Ultralisk now being trained, Marines now trying to come in. Another fungal growth hitting across multiple Marines. Now Banelings are going to come in with Roaches, and this whole entire army is going to melt very, very easily. Infestors now pulling back, but the fungal growth usage was absolutely beautiful. Argos Zenex doing a great job so far. And now, as long as he's able to just win a war of attrition, he should be able to take the Siege Tanks now trying to come in, and now Roach is now trying to come in as well. Is enough damage going to be dealt? The Broodlords are in the air trying to combat back. There are so many Roaches that those Marines are now trying to hit through that very, very thick Roach armor. The Roaches have 3 armor against those Marines. Marines are upgraded only 1-0. So only able to deal 4 damage per attack. Broodlords are over here now. Now just hanging about, and now in come those Ultralisks. Ultralisks are upgraded, dealing 47 damage. Are going to be able to rip through those siege tanks very easily, and those Marines are only going to do what, 2 damage per attack against those Ultralisks. Broodlords once again coming in, gonna start and launching those Broodlings once again, and now Marines trying to stim in, and now in come some Vikings. So Vikings are in the air, but in come the Broodlords. Fungal growth catching this army completely off guard. There are 2 Vikings in the air, but it doesn't really matter. But the stim pack on those Marines and the reinforcing Marines able to get through that Ultralisk armor. The Broodlords, 1 Ultralisk just standing around not doing much at all, finally trying to slice its way through, but the sheer number of Marines, what, 25 Marines, when you're dealing 3 damage per attack, now that we have the level 2 weapons upgrade, can still start to poke through that very, very heavy Ultralisk armor. We can now see level 6 weapons upgrade, so back down to 2. 10 Ultralisks now being queued up, and Argos having 105 larvae. So wow, he can replace his army very, very quickly. Drones now being transferred over here. We can now see a lot of drones here. Marines now just simply going to stim in. A Queen now coming over as well. Zerglings now trying to come in, but this is not going to work out all too well, as those Marines are just going to stim in, take down many of those Overlords. Ultralisks now coming in, fully upgraded, 5-3 upgraded Ultralisks. Ultralisks now just chomping away at those Marines, and now those Marines are going to deal more, just going to get, trying to absorb so much of that damage, unable to. A lot of drones were taken out though. If take a look at the the unit count, 77 drones. Perhaps he was able to save some of them. No, yeah, he was able to save a lot of them. Wow, I wasn't quite sure how that was possible, as those Ultralisks now continue to give chase. Those Vikings in the air do not want to go into ground mode, as they know those Ultralisks will just be able to tear them apart. A Queen over here, perhaps using some transfusion in order to heal up these very, very heavy gas-intensive infestors. And now a lot of Ultralisks. So an Ultralisk Broodlord. Who says Zerg does not go tier 3? So Ultralisk and Broodlords are upgraded 1-0. Ultralisks are upgraded 5 or 3-5. Marines now trying to come in. Are we going to get a fungal growth? There's that fungal growth. Marines just stuck and standing where they are. Ultralisks now just continue to pour in once again, getting so much damage. Now that Planetary Fortress, however, is going to be a problem, as those Ultralisks are now just continuing to push through, getting a lot of damage on these siege tanks. We can still see that Sulli has the larger army, 4,000 versus 2,200, but it just doesn't feel that way. Production-wise, an extra 11 Ultralisks now being trained. Argos Zenex doesn't have that much money in the bank, though, and that is going to be a problem, as he's not going to be able to get replenish his army nearly as quickly. Another Zergling down over here, preventing the landing on this location here. Taking a look at the losses, 22,000 for Argos Zenex, 14,200 for Sulli. Sulli doing a great job being able to hold off with a much weaker army, and now these Ultralisks, are just going to be able to start slicing away at those siege tanks, but those siege tanks do deal significant damage, 34 damage per attack. And now siege tanks are sieging up once again. SCVs finally being transferred down over here. Destructible rocks now have been taken down, and Sulli perhaps getting a planetary fortress or an orbital command. A lot of drones now mining out of this location. We can still see 96 larvae, so still not relenting in his macro. Has to be careful with the rally points on these Ultralisks, as those Ultralisks production-wise, 9 Mulists now being trained up once again. Ultralisks are still back over here, moving very quickly, as fast as a upgraded Baneling on creep, and now just continue to just try to deal more damage. Ultralisks going to be able to get a slash through these siege tanks. This one siege tank now trying to take down, or no, this one siege tank down over here will get taken down very easily, as another fungal growth on those siege tanks here. Planetary fortress, siege tanks over here trying to blast away at this Ultralisk. Ultralisk able to retreat once again. A lot of medevacs in the air, and those fungal growth, there we go, catching those siege tanks. Once again, those Ultralisks able to get a lot of splash damage in, but that planetary fortress has such a fast rate of attack and splash damage, able to get a lot of damage. You can see a lot of those Ultralisks are very weak now, but in comes some more Mutalisks, so Mutalisks now being transitioned in. So a 200 population army constantly changing from Infestors, Broodlords, and Ultralisks now into Mutalisks, and those Mutalisks should be able to get in a lot of damage, especially as many of those Marines are now being replaced by siege tanks. Mutalisks now coming in over from this side. There is one Thor over here, but it doesn't really matter, as he's going to go down after the main buildings. Should not fight over there. That is going to be a problem. But the Zerglings now just going to swarm into this location. There is a planetary fortress down here. No, going after the Marines instead. Stim pack, a lot of siege damage, burning up many of those Marines and those Zerglings. Infestors now getting another fungal growth off. More Mutalisks I'm trying to pull away. This one Thor getting a lot of kills, able to shoot down many of those Mutalisks, as those medevacs are taking a lot of damage. 3,400 mineral army versus 1925. And still, the Terran player has the stronger army, has a very weak economy, but the Terran player also has, I believe, does he have more money in the bank? A little bit more money in the bank, and now Argos Zenex needs to deal some damage. Otherwise, the Terran player, if this is a war of attrition, that I believe Sulli Zenith will be able to take this, but no, there are going to be Infestors here. Fungal growth across those SCVs. SCVs stopping in their tracks. A second fungal growth will kill them all. And yeah, there you go. Multiple deaths for those poor SCVs, and now getting taken down. Medevacs and Marines trying to make their way over. Mutalisks coming in. Taking a look at the harvester count now, 23 SCVs compared to 77 drones. All those drones could just grow up to be spine crawlers, and that would be very difficult. Mutalisks now trying to come in, trying to finish off many of those medevacs. Mutalisks now deciding to pull away, as there are Infestors here. The Marines, very smart, deciding not to try to take down those Mutalisks there. We can see more Ultralisks now coming in, so Ultralisks now pouring in from the center. Argos Zenex doesn't care about micro, only macro. If your macro is better than your opponent, then all you need to micro is attack move. Ultralisks now chomping away more, just winning because he has the stronger economy. 5 Ultralisks still in production, in addition to 34 Zerglings. As these Ultralisks now try to run back here onto that high ground, we should be seeing a fungal growth coming in. And where's that fungal growth? Oh, only hitting 2 units. There's that second fungal growth. Ultralisks now trying to come in. Mutalisks are in the air, able to chomp away. Siege tanks now back over here. But more of this damage just continuing to be dealt across the board. Siege tanks blasting at some of their own friendly Infestors, or own friendly siege tanks trying to deal damage towards those Infestors. Very low hit point units back over here, army-wise, 850 versus 1950. But this game can still be anyone's. Army now back up to 2,000 as Argos Zenex continuing to just pump out multiple Ultralisks, and now also a lot of Zerglings as well. Those drones could come off the mineral line. In comes the Ultralisk. Ultralisk getting some damage over here. The Marines are upgraded 3-0, so those Ultralisks are now taking 3 damage per attack and now getting swiped apart there. Army-wise, 1,550 versus 2,900. And I believe this is the first time throughout this game that Argos actually has a lead. Taking a look at the economy, 700 versus 900, perhaps a lot of mules. Yeah, mules being used to mine out this location here, as many SCVs were taken down. 3,500 versus 1,900. Production-wise, Argos Zenex is sitting on about 1,200 minerals, able to mine off of this expansion as well. And now Sulli is in trouble. Sulli knows that he needs to be very careful with his units, and I believe what's going to happen is that Argos will be able to use these Infestors very effectively, and now just constantly deal damage towards these Zerglings. The Zerglings just going to be able to rip apart many of those Marines. Down they go, And now perhaps some queens will be able to start using some transfusion as well. Zerglings now, no, Ultra is now going to simply come into this location, and Planetary Fortress is going to get surrounded in just a second, and now it's getting chomped apart. This may be a problem. The Ultralists do deal a lot of damage per attack, and now the Ultralists already chomping away at some of those SCVs as well. This Planetary Fortress has been taken down, so now down to only 3 mineral patches, which he can only mine from using mules. Corruptors now being trained, Ultralists being trained once again. A lot of medevacs being used. 6 medevacs, 17 Marines, 1 Thor against, what is that, 10 Ultralists, 3 Corruptors, a couple Banelings, and I haven't seen those Banelings being used anytime recently. So I'm not quite sure when those Banelings will be used. Banelings are next to those Infestors, so we may get a fungal growth followed by Banelings once again, and that would be very, very effective. Army-wise, 5,000 mineral army. Taking a look at the losses, you couldn't tell that Argos Zenith actually is, or Zenex is in the lead. Ultralists dealing so much damage. Corruptors are in the air now going after those medevacs. And Sulli Zenith says GG. After Argos Zenex says please GG. So wow, Argos Zenex losing 15,000 more resources than his opponent, and still coming away with the victory. Very, very impressive play by Argos. Argos realizing that the Terran player, after he gets up to 2 base, the Terran players generally slow down their expanding, and that was ultimately what did Sulli in. Sulli was always in a very dominant position with his army. He was always able to defend while losing less. But when your economy and when your resources just double or triple your opponent, let me take a look at this total spending. This is probably one of those where you want to take a look at that. Argos Zenex essentially spent about 80% more than his opponent on his army. And with that 80% more, even though he lost about 50% more than his opponent, he was still able to inch out that victory in a very, very dominant factor, or a very, very dominant showing. You can see 5-3 upgraded Ultralists. I believe those Broodlings were also upgraded. Corruptors upgraded 1-1. Banelings upgraded 3-3, obviously, as they share upgrades. I don't believe there was any missile upgrades. No, definitely not your standard Roach Hydra play at all here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Argos Zenex and Sulli Zenith here in the Xel'Naga Caverns.